What's up, everyone? It's Brent with BC Does, bringing you folks hopefully another watchable video. Man, I know it's been a minute. I hope everyone's doing well. First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to the meaning of Memorial Day, which we're all going to celebrate tomorrow with friends and family. Maybe you're sitting by the pool, maybe you're around the barbecue grill, but it's really about the soldiers that gave their lives so that we can have the freedom to sit around the pool and the barbecue grill. I want to give a shout out to all the surviving family members of any soldier out there, man or woman, who lost their life to fight for the freedom, so that I can bring you folks videos like this today. It truly is a great honor of mine to be able to get on here and say thank you for all that you've done and for your sacrifice. Okay, without further ado, I'm bringing you folks another music-related video. Of course, it's been about 3 or 4 weeks. I'm not bringing them as often as I used to. Money's kind of tight. But either way, not complaining. I got my 2 window albums up here in the window. First one to guess properly what those 2 albums are, put it in the comments down below, and I will pin your comment up top. Listen, my channel's grown to 260 subscribers thanks to you folks out there in the community. Man, it's really starting to take off now. So please, man, to help push this video in front of other people of like mind, that like music, like rock from the 90s, 70s, and even all the way up through today, people that like records, people in vinyl. This is the community I'm trying to build, a community of rock knowledge that we can bounce things off back and forth from each other, so that I may learn about bands that I've never heard of and maybe help you discover bands that you've never heard of. If you don't mind, smash that like button. It's free, it won't cost you a dime. And if you feel so inclined, please subscribe to the channel. Okay, without further ado, today I thought we'd take a look at my Pearl Jam vinyl collection that I have, whatever you want to call it. And I have some Pearl Jam CDs. A little disclaimer, Pearl Jam is not my favorite band of all time, but I do like a lot of their early work. It just seems to me that, later on in their discography, I think, Eddie kind of got involved in a little bit of, political realm and things like that. And I mentioned this before on my channel. I don't want to talk about politics or listen about politics in my music. That's why you don't see a lot of Rage Against the Machine in my collection. I do own Evil Empire, but other than that, man, I listen to music to escape, not to have to think and contemplate. But I will, Pearl Jam is a great band, and I got to give credit where credit is due. And a lot of their early work was fantastic, and that's what I'm going to bring today. Even an album up as late as 2013 is what we're going to talk about today. So first and foremost, obviously, let me set these to the side. Oh, and before I forget, I'm always listening to some music in the background. Over here to my right is a CD player that I'm listening to when I make these videos. And I always keep it turned down low because I don't want to get hit with a copyright infringement. But today, what we're listening to Pearl Jam, fittingly, the Yield album. So there's that. So like I said, Pearl Jam. Who can forget when they burst on the scene with this record right here? Now, I also do want to say, other than 2 of these are not original, these are remakes. Obviously, I couldn't afford an original copy of Pearl Jam 10, but I would love to have one. And maybe one day I'll get one, because this album actually is one of my favorite albums of all time, and I'm sure it's a lot of y'all's favorite albums of all time. But this is Pearl Jam 10. Here's the inner jacket. And I think what I'm going to do, because these, for whatever reason, they don't have sleeves, they're just in the cardboard. So I'm going to put some of these in my paper sleeves that I have when I'm done with the video. Pearl Jam 10, great album. The deep cuts on this album are some of my favorite Pearl Jam songs of all time. Songs like Garden and Porch and Deep and Release. And maybe that's because I got so oversaturated with this album on the radio, so that's why I tend to go to the deep cuts. But usually, when I listen to this record, it's the second side with Oceans, Porch, Garden, Deep, and Release, because the first side obviously is Once and Even Flow and Jeremy and Black. Why Go is one of my favorite songs on this album. Why go home? Why go home? She seems to be stronger, but what they have, oh, to me is weak. Yeah, y'all know that one. That song rocks, man. Yeah, Pearl Jam, 10. Next up, can you tell what this is from the back? I'm sure you can. This is Pearl Jam Versus. And this obviously isn't an original. I still have the shrink here. It's a gatefold, so I took it off, but I am going to keep the shrink. But this is Pearl Jam 10. The gatefold. And this obviously also is not an original. We'll take one of these out. Inner sleeves. And are they in? No. And they also are not in any kind of polyline sleeve nor record sleeve, which I will get corrected when I'm done with making this video. Here's the other one with glorified version and all that. This is probably, I'd say, Pearl Jam Versus. It's probably my favorite Pearl Jam album, to be honest. Animal's great, Glorified's great, Dissident's great, White Male American's great, Rearview Mirror, Saw Things So Much Clearer. One of my favorite Pearl Jam songs. Elderly Woman in a Small Town. And Indifference, the last track with Eddie just singing Ghostly in the background. Love that. Yeah, Pearl Jam Versus. It's just such a random album cover with the llama's head caught in the chicken wire or the fencing, whatever that is. Anyway, and I think, let me look here. Yes, now I will do this. I also have the CD, which this is an original CD from the album. And as you can tell, it's falling apart. But there it is. Original Pearl Jam Versus CD. Let's see how, yeah, it's pretty beat up on the back. And that's one of the reasons why I'm having to go back and get all this stuff on vinyl. But there we go. We got the Pearl Jams Versus vinyl and CD. So that's that in that part of the collection. Next up, I have a collector's edition of Vitology. This is a cool record. It's another, this is with Better Man and all that on there. Corduroy, obviously. Spin the Black Circle. Not for You's on here. Immortality's on here. Nothing Man is on here. It's a great record. Brendan O'Brien produced this record, who also produced Versus. But this is a collector's edition of this album. My wife bought for me. Here is the gatefold, and it's got it's a textured jacket, really good shape. Like I said, this isn't a collector's edition. I don't think it was, maybe it was a reissue. Let's see what we got in here. I have an inner lining. And this one is actually in a poly-lined cover. And man, I've got to do a better job taking care of this thing. I need to clean this record. But this is Vitology on 180 gram vinyl is what it feels like. And we're going to clean that record when we're done with this video. So I do not have Vitology on CD to go along with it. Get all this stuff put away. Sorry, folks. And that's what, and also I'll throw you guys a couple CDs. This is Pearl Jam Recprds Mirror, which is like an essentials album of theirs. There's the CD there. Pretty beat up. And it's a double. Anyway, Pearl Jam Recprds Mirror. And this thing has everything on it. All those songs there are on here. I think this came out after Vitology. And the whole reason for this video here is to show you folks what I just picked up. And I will tell you, this was also produced by Brendan O'Brien, who produced Versus and Vitology. I don't know if he produced Yield or not, but Brendan O'Brien was a producer who produced Super Unknown, Stone Temple Pilots Plush, Pearl Jam Versus, and just a ton of all the albums that we love from back in the day. Brendan O'Brien either mixed or produced those. Brings us to this record here, which is, in my opinion, and any Pearl Jam lovers out there can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the last great Pearl Jam album that I've discovered. I can't listen to the new one all the way through. It's just not a great record to me. But this is the last one. I picked this up yesterday. This is Pearl Jam Lightning Bolt. This is a killer album. It's a killer album. If you haven't heard Pearl Jam Lightning Bolt, if you just skipped over it in their discography, I know a true Pearl Jam fan hasn't, but if you're just a random, you like grunge or grunge era bands, I should say this album really isn't grungy, but grunge era bands, give this album a listen, give it a spin or whatever. This is a fantastic record. If you listen to it, I listened to it last night again in my wraparound headphones. There's a lot of ambiance and nuance in the mix of it, of course, because Brendan O'Brien mixed it. It's just killer, all killer, no filler. And just show you guys. This is the inner jacket. Here's the record itself. And it's what they call a die cut. So when you slide this in, I'll show you guys. It puts that back in, and this is actually cut out. You can't, it's hard to tell on camera, maybe you can see. Yeah, it's cut out. But anyway, this album came with a bunch of goodies. It's a gatefold. And it came with, let me get this out. There's my shrink wrap. It comes with this, which is cool. These are stickers. These are actual stickers. So this was in there. You want to stick Pearl Jam stuff all over everything. Let me get this out. And it comes with the book. Another picture of the guys. Comes with the lyric book. Which is great. And I appreciate that. Listen, if I'm going to pay $40 for an album, which is what I think I paid for this was $39 plus tax. Make it worth my while. Put a lyric book in there. Give me a collectible inside the album. I know it's expensive for these bands to press this vinyl these days, but give me something that I can have and say, hey, this album here is unique. Here's the back of the record if I didn't show it. Hey, you know, this album here is unique. It has these stickers in there. It has this in there. It's better than your copy. You have the regular, you know, and they did make a different one of this that was just plain. It didn't have all that stuff in there. But I do want to show, and just to prove that I thought and valued this album as one of their best since Vitology, I bought the CD, which is a cool CD thing, because look, it's like a book. I bought this CD when it first came out. And the CD itself is inside this part, if you can get it out, right there. Chewed up, man. I should have took better care of my CDs, man. I should have took better care of my CDs. But there it is. The reason for this video was to show you my new Pearl Jam pickup and what I have in my Pearl Jam collection. And then, of course, we can't forget about Yield, which I also have, which, like I said, I'm not sure if this was produced by Brendan O'Brien or not. If you want to pause the video and see if it was or not, I'm getting too old. I can't read that small print. So that's that. I think when I get done here, I will clean these records and put them in sleeves. But I also want to bring up this. Anybody knows what this is? It's an iPod. Oops. Let's get into, and to show that it still works. The reason I wanted to show this was because I found this the other day in my drawer. And anybody that knows me they know that I'm a retro guy, and this is some serious technology. I mean, when you consider, you know, I'm listening to vinyl and I'm listening to CDs all the time. But it is getting a little dated. So I think what I'm going to do is I have my wife order me. And another thing is there's music on here that I downloaded back in the day that I don't have a physical copy of, such as Merciful Fate. I don't have a physical copy of that. Audio Slave Cochise. I don't have a physical copy of that. Bloodhound Gang. One Fierce Spirit Coaster. I don't have a physical copy of that. I have Saint Anger on here. So it's good to have this, because now when I go exercise and everything else, I'm going to take my iPod. And I was telling my wife that the other day. She's like, man, you're such a dinosaur. I was like, you're lucky I'm not telling you to get me a Walkman so I could take my cassettes and some AA batteries, if you know what I'm talking about. But my wife was kind enough to get me these plug-in headphones, because I need it for the iPod, because this still has a physical jack on the bottom. But yeah, it's in really good shape. I've had it forever. Can't wait to bust this out and listen to it. I might even listen to this while I'm cleaning my records. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. I know I drag on sometimes, but that's what I got in my Pearl Jam collection. I really don't think that I'll have much more than those albums. Those are my favorite Pearl Jam albums. So I'm not like trying to complete their discography or anything like that. That's just what I have. That's the music I enjoy. And we're still waiting on the Load Remastered Reissued Deluxe box set that I did buy. Good night. $350 after taxes and titles and handling. That's coming on June the 13th. And when that gets here, I hope I get mine first, and I hope I can bring the first unboxing video other than the one that Carol Hammett has on the channel. Appreciate you guys watching. Like I said, please feel free to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you folks on the next one.